today's news, 2024 lawyer to commence tomorrow, Friday. Opposition cautioned on attempt to control press narrative. He could do a lot of damage in 10 months, Premier on Governor. FRASER calls for a referendum to be held in the BVI, and OECS and CARICOM members in support of the BVI. Our viewers, these and more stories when 284 News return.
Some claim that the age of a true gentleman is far behind us, but here at 284 Media, we disagree. He may appear in different guises today, but the values and ideals that make him a gent still stand. 284 Media proudly presents The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman with yours truly, Ron Grant, a show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. Don't worry, it's not all about suits and bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, Season 5, a 284 Media production.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Why? This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, I can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What do you really? Hey, this ain't like you,
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out that trouble me.
Wow. What's your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into You know I hustle. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hooked, I tell you.
Welcome viewers to the Thursday, January 11th, 2024 edition of 284 News. I am Kamal Haynes, bringing you the latest out of the British Virgin Islands. Leading today's news, the 2024 law year is set to commence tomorrow, Friday, January 12th, with activities planned throughout the jurisdiction of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. Madam Chief Registrar Michelle John Tierballs joined 284 Media's Jacka Wooding to discuss this year's observation.
Well, I think it coincides with our theme for this year's opening of the law year. It's innovation and justice reform, the ECSC looking to the future. And that really sums up what our 24 really looks like over the past few years under the leadership of Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice Pereira, who of course you would know hails from the BVI. The court has been on a trajectory that has focused on digitization and technology. And we continue in 2024 with our innovation and judicial reform. So that's what 2024 looks like for us. That's what the horizon for 2024 looks like for us. When we looked at the initiatives that the court has embarked on for the past few years, we've noticed that there has been a lot of focus on technology and the advancements to the administration of justice, where technology is consumed. We've had our e-litigation portal that has now been rolled out throughout every member state and territory of the Eastern Caribbean. We have most of our sittings by Zoom. Of course, the pandemic sort of pushed us in that direction. But it also gave us the thrust to realize that there is so much more using technology that we as a court can do. And when we were considering the relevant themes, we realized that this would be fitting because it really speaks to not only what the court has done over the past year or the past few years, but also where the court and the world at large is heading, where technology is concerned. Well, the opening of the lawyer is really one of the highlights of the court's calendar. And every year at the start of the year, the calendar year, our term one, we look forward to ushering the lawyer. And before COVID, we would have our individual sittings in each member state and territory. But of course, we had to make some changes with COVID, especially since persons couldn't gather as freely without restrictions. So we started off with a pre-recorded opening, then we sort of moved to a hybrid where we had the court appearing in person, other persons coming in via Zoom. And this year, we are pleased to announce that our opening is going to be a full opening in the state of Grenada, where the Spice Isle, I should say, they are getting ready to host us, because on the roster, it's now their turn. Every year, we do a different island. So this year, all roads lead to Grenada. And we have our Chief Justice, of course, who will be delivering the feature address at this special sitting, coming in live from Grenada, as well as all of the other speakers. So we wouldn't have anyone coming in via Zoom. Everyone will be present. And in addition to that, we have a number of our High Court judges who from throughout the region who will be joining us in Grenada as well to celebrate this opening. You see, this is the final opening for Her Ladyship, the Honorable Dame Janice Pereira, as our Chief Justice. So Her Ladyship will be delivering her exit address, as we like to refer to it as, and we wanted to make it very special. We try to do things different every year, and this year we wanted to make it a lot more grand and extra special. So we are not going to leave out the other 8 member states and territories, or no, at all. The opening will instead be streamed via local GIS stations, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, the court's website. So really and truly, every single person, not just in the region, but throughout the world, will be able to celebrate with us, the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the opening of the lawyer 2024. It's going to be awesome.
His Majesty's loyal opposition held a press conference on January 9th, their second in 3 months. What the intent was to express unity with the government of the Virgin Islands against His Excellency Governor John Rankin's requested expanded powers. But after delivering statements, the 6 opposition members took questions from the media. However, as the session proceeded, 3rd District Representative Honorable Julian Fraser soon saw fit to dictate a preferred scope of questioning, interjecting to an attempt by the representative for the 6th District to answer the question if the Premier and his government had approached the more experienced bunch of you in this issue. Do you think that all of this could have been avoided? Fraser informed the press that the opposition had no interest in responding to questions about other territorial issues at that time. Fraser went so far as to instruct reporters on the precise message that should be portrayed from the session.
Quite possibly.
While I find the questions quite interesting, and trust me, we can talk about we can answer your questions for the whole day. Each of us can spend an hour giving you answers to your question. Intelligent answers too. But what is happening right now is a distraction from the purpose of this press conference. And when we leave from here today, the headlines wouldn't read that the opposition came to express their displeasure with the governor's request for additional powers, and that they stand in solidarity with the government as far as that is concerned. No, that would not be the headline. The headline would be something like, opposition tried to defend the government on its delinquency, or whatever you want to call it. Opposition tried to justify the government and its delinquency, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know from anything when it comes to that today. Tomorrow, we could talk about it. So let's continue on the mission on which we came here, to stand in solidarity with the government as far as standing firm on our opposition to the governor seeking additional powers. And then tomorrow or the next day, we can deal with all these questions.
In response, ZBVI Zan Lewis took the opportunity to remind the member of the audaciousness of his request. Lewis stressed the press is not mandated to perpetuate any agenda.
Mr. Fraser, while I agree with you, you came here with an agenda, not for us to support your agenda. You came here with an agenda to push the opposition's agenda. We have no problem with that. The media turn up to listen to you push your agenda. But we are not here to promote your agenda. We are here as media personnel to ask you questions. And what we are suggesting to you very nicely is just to answer the questions that we offer. And also in the meantime, to listen to your agenda. So it's a press conference which we called and to which we are asking questions.
The impromptu press conference came after the opposition abandoned the planned joint presser with the government of the Virgin Islands intended for January 8th. They cited a desire to avoid distractions from the government's incomplete COI recommendations. FRASER's bold attempt to direct media coverage and bar broader territorial questions laid bare to an apparent interest in shaping perceptions above sincerely erring concerns. Well, up next, viewers, he could do a lot of damage in 10 months, Premier on Governor if granted new powers, and FRASER calls for a referendum to be held and for a House of Assembly debate on Governor's request for more power. But these and more stories after a word from our sponsors.
At Higher BVI, we're not just about business. We're about empowering lives, and that is because we aspire to inspire. By choosing us, you're supporting a company that believes in equal opportunities, diversity, and community growth. Our mission goes beyond profit. It's about providing HR solutions, fostering talent, and leaving a positive impact. Join us in building a better future, a better BVI. Choose Higher BVI, where your support isn't just a transaction, it's a transformation. Together, we're changing lives in these beautiful Virgin Islands.
One Stop Auto, located in the R&R Malone Complex, Parkwood Pond, is having a huge liquidation sale on all inventory, excluding vehicles and genuine Toyota and Lexus parts. Get no less than 50% off all items on shelves and inventory room. Items such as car covers, steering wheel covers, wipers, sealants, chemicals, emergency cones, adhesives, license plates frames, air filters, oil filters, front brakes, front rotors, rear rotors, radiators, shocks, and much more. A specific listing of all makes and models for which parts are available at liquidation prices will be posted on our Facebook page.
Welcome back, viewers. The leader of government business, Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, has residents on notice of the possible damage that could result in the BVI over the next 10 months if the governor is granted his requested additional powers. Premier Wheatley said the BVI's constitution will first have to be amended to allow for the governor to have additional powers if approved by the United Kingdom government.
The additional powers that the governor is requesting cannot be done without amendments to the Constitution. And our Constitution is an order that is passed in the Privy Council of the United Kingdom. That's why it's called a Virgin Islands Constitution Order. And even in the midst of our constitutional review right now, the governor is requesting these powers, which must be done through amendment.
Dr. Wheatley also pointed to the section of the existing BVI Constitution, which currently gives the governor the power to pass legislation in the House of Assembly without the vote of the sitting legislators. He said if the governor is granted the power to introduce legislation in the House of Assembly, there is no telling what legislation would be passed in the BVI over the next 10 months.
One of the very damaging additional powers that he's requesting is the ability to introduce new legislation. Now, the governor didn't mention this, but the governor has the power to pass legislation once it's already introduced. If you look at Section 81 of the Constitution, which deals with the governor's reserved powers, once a piece of legislation has been introduced, the governor can pass it just like if any members of the House of Assembly had passed it. And within that 10 months, the governor will have the ability to pass any act. And let's just give an example, for instance. If he wanted to pass a same-sex marriage law, he could do that. If he wanted to pass a police act, persons going to your homes without warrants, he could do that. You know, he would have all legislative authority. And we, as a Virgin Islands people, would have to determine whether we're comfortable with that.
The Premier also spoke on providing the governor the power to take over ministries. He says such an act would take the advancement of BVI politics back more than 5 decades if allowed.
He will also have the power to take over any department or ministry. That's what he's requesting. And that is a power that we gained with ministerial government in 1967. You know, he would be taking us back, that's over 50 years, 50, 60 years, over 60 years. And, you know, that means he would be able to go into, for instance, the immigration department, which I must say that they have a real focus. I don't even want to use the word obsession, but that's how it seems sometimes. With immigration, they can go and just approve however many they want to, regardless of the need for a policy to ensure that persons who are becoming citizens of the Virgin Islands have a love and a commitment to the country, and they have a knowledge of our history and our culture and things like that.
Another possible additional power that was referenced by His Excellency Governor John Rankin is the authority to control the procurement process of the issuing of government contracts. Premier Ridley said this too would be damaging to BVI politics.
The last thing he's requesting is he wants to get involved in financial matters. He mentioned procurement. That is a power that we gained in, that was either 1977 or 1978. Deputy Premier will have to tell me, where we got off granting aid and we had our first Minister of Finance. And we've been dealing with our financial affairs since then. So the governor has taken us there back more than 40 years, trying to interfere with financial matters, and I don't have to describe to you what kind of damage you can do in 10 months in getting involved in our financial matters.
Well, opposition legislator Honorable Julian Fraser is requesting a referendum to be held in the British Virgin Islands to allow the people to decide on whether the governor should be granted additional powers. Fraser made a call during an opposition press conference on Tuesday, January 9th, as he proposed a special sitting of the House of Assembly to allow for the referendum and an official debate of all 13 elected members on the subject matter.
I am proposing to both the Premier and the Leader of the Opposition to immediately convene an extraordinary sitting of the House of Assembly and introduce a resolution for debate, denouncing the governor's announced proposal to seek additional powers, which will undoubtedly require the suspension of certain sections of our Constitution or parts thereof, and undermine our sitting government. This action will give all 13 elected members the opportunity to demonstrate to their constituents, which in effect is the entire territory, what their positions are on the matter, while at the same time explaining to them why they should do the same.
Fraser explained that allowing the people to decide via a referendum would fall in line with the democratic process of BVI's political system, allowing the voting public to have a say on the historic decision.
The resolution should in addition call for a referendum which would clearly convey the position of the people of the Virgin Islands, the very people who the governor often states that he is acting in their best interest. This referendum is important for two reasons. First, people are complaining that they are not involved in the decision-making of the territory. And second, the outcome will be inarguably the wish of the people. Besides, Unlike a demonstration where often the governor claims that he looked out his window and only a handful of people showed up, this would be a democratic decision, one that is universally accepted. This referendum could be quick, inexpensive, and easily executed because we can use the voters list from the last election, which is less than a year old.
The 3rd District Representative also accused His Excellency Governor John Rankin of doubling down on the colonization of the territory with his request, which he believes could set the territory's political advancement back decades if the additional powers are granted.
I am tired and amazed at the insensitivity of the British. For even despite the current revolt by black people, specifically in the Sahel region of Africa, namely Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, against neocolonialism, this governor is doubling down on the colonization of the Virgin Islands. Fellow Virgin Islanders, this is existential, an act designated to discredit the government of the people of the Virgin Islands, the impact of which such an action, if successful, will result in irreparable damage to our reputation and set our territory back decades in terms of our constitutional advancement.
Well, up next, the OECS and CARICOM members support the BVI and ESLYN HENLEY RICHIEZ students enter workforce through retail apprenticeship. But these and more stories when 284 News return.
Today, I am doing cobble treatments with Beyond the Reef. Today, we are doing shark research. So today, we are doing whale research with Beyond the Reef. And wherever I go, I take CCT with me because my life is unlimited.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Why? This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, I can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What do you really? Hey, this ain't like you, know?
Dad, this thing got me staying home, keeping out of trouble me.
Wow. What's your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know, I watching ball. I even watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live. Select your package and tune in.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for sticking with us. At a recently held press conference, Premier Dr. The Honorable Natalia Wheatley spoke on the support across the region from the OECS and as well as CARICOM member states. He was at the time responding to a request by the media on whether or not he has been having conversations with regional leaders on the matter.
Well, on an ongoing basis, I haven't had any specific discussions since Friday. But we've been speaking about the Order in Council on an ongoing basis. The OECS has flatly rejected it, and they've made public statements that this is the wrong approach to take with the BVI. CARICOM has rejected it. The other leaders of the overseas territories have rejected it. The C24 and the Fourth Committee, they've passed resolutions at the United Nations that reject this approach, but yet it is continually being perpetuated. And we're calling on the minister to reject this approach.
In July of 2023, CARICOM issued a statement in support of the Virgin Islands. CARICOM reaffirmed its commitment to supporting the British Virgin Islands at annual sessions of the UN Special Committee on Decolonization. Additionally, it endorsed the draft UN resolution on the question of the British Virgin Islands adopted by the C24 during its June 2023 substantive session and committed to support the resolution during its remaining stages of approval within the UN system, and celebrated the British Virgin Islands 32 years as an associate member of CARICOM on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of CARICOM. Well, 2 students from the ESLYN HENLEY RICHIEZ Learning Center, Trey Williams and Kimani Smith, have entered into an apprenticeship program to gain hands-on career experience. Williams and Smith will work 2 days per week in retail positions at Rightway Passear as part of the program. This opportunity is part of the Learning Center's mission to equip students with special educational needs to make viable community contributions. The school aims to provide learning experiences enabling all students to mature and meet their full potential. As part of this, students aged 16 and older participate in apprenticeships in chosen career fields. The program allows senior students to identify careers they are interested in and be placed with the local businesses for training under industry professionals. In a recent social media post sharing news of the program, the center said that it believes students with special education needs can learn and therefore they can be equipped to make viable contributions to their community. Now moving on to our final story, viewers, where Dr. Alison Flatz-Archer has officially launched the Box 2, a glimpse into Virgin Islands history. The Box 2 is the second in the series, which allows persons to learn about Virgin Islands history and culture in a fun way. In a recent interview, Dr. Flatz-Archer spoke about the concept in creating this piece of work.
So I did also tap into a lot of the older persons that were able to tell me or give me some of the information in each of the boxes.
I'm happy that you mentioned tapping into some of the older persons. What was the research process for you like in putting the information together?
Putting the information together was really easy. It probably was selfish, because a lot of times I would either, if I hear something, I would put it in my phone, first of all, or I would write it down, and then I would go and do my own research, whether it's through the archives or asking older persons if it's not something that's factual within the archives.
Understood.
How did you do it long ago? What was it like? Wouldn't just ask one person, but I would ask several.
Got you. Well, I'm ready to have some fun. So
great.
I'm at your mercy. Go ahead.
Okay, great.
We can take some from the first box and then as well as the second box.
I'll just ask 2 cards from the first box, if that's okay.
All right.
So the Virgin Islands are constitutionally known as the Virgin Islands, but most often referred to as the British Virgin Islands. Why is British used by so many? That's actually on the back of the box, but why is it used?
In my opinion, British is used because the U.S. Virgin Islands stole it, but that's my answer.
You said that you said they British is used because the
U.S. Virgin Islands stole
the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
Well, I can completely agree with that, but I'll probably get some calls from my family members that live in St. Thomas. But you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
Let's say that that's correct.
Okay.
But the answer that I have on the card is to distinguish the Virgin Islands from the United States Virgin Islands.
Additionally, she shared what the research process was like.
That initiates a completely different conversation because we're going through a constitutional review right now. So that is going to change because of the review, and then you'll have questions that come up from younger people. What is a constitution? Why do we need a constitution? And persons that are not necessarily as interested as Indigenous or persons that reside in the Virgin Islands about the constitution and the changes that'll be made will start to have a conversation as well, start to be a part of these beautiful islands that we live in.
Viewers, the box is available at Nutmeg and the Nook Bookstore and is $29.99. For the full interview, visit all 284 media platforms. But that's all we have for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Kamal Haynes, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. Goodbye.